human superheroes. It's time for the bully's nightmare, a thorn in the side of the political correctness cartel. Of course I want to get under their skin. How else can I get on their nerves? It's Brian. I'm in and very glad you joined us for today's ride. So what do you say? Let's get ready to mortal up. And welcome, as I should have mentioned, good morning, and welcome to episode 485. We're closing in on episode 500. Very excited about that. As always, remember that we consider ourselves here to be the backlash with all the craziness, with all the mashugana, with everything going on in the world today. You and I, there's a lot going on stacked against us, right? There's quite a bit of the mashugana spinning around. So we like to think of this show as your early morning fire alarm, if you will, but most certainly the backlash that allows you to say, here's how I plan on everything that's going to be thrown at me today. Here's how I plan on responding. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's how I'm going to be the citadel, right? Here's how I'm going to be the tree that can withstand any wind. And we're very happy to have you here. We got a cool audio vitamin for today. All kinds of great things that I want to be able to get to. But here first is a question. Did you ever wonder if you fall for your own Kool-Aid? You're drinking your own Kool-Aid. You fall for the facade. You begin to believe that everything going on around you is a part of who you ultimately are. Right? You're reading your own press clippings. You begin to think all that stuff, either positive or negative, right? Maybe it's, we talk about binge thinking, maybe it's a negative voice that's beating you up. Did you ever think about that? And how would you even know? How could you tell if you were falling for your own BS? How would you know? Right? If you run around with a blunted brain and you think to yourself, oh, I'm this because I'm A, B, C, D, E, or F, other than I'm this because of my all-natural being, how would you know if you're telling yourself the truth? How would you know ultimately what your true story is? That's why let's hop right in, because we have, as an audio vitamin, we'll get to that in a minute, but here's my thought for today. Mirror, mirror. Remember that from the old ancient fairy tale or the rhyme, or the little kid's rhyme? Mirror, mirror on the wall. Well, if you check out that mirror, what do your eyes say to you? If you can look into your own eyes, and we've talked about this drill before somewhere back in the probably episodes 300 to 399, somewhere in there. But the drill that I use from time to time is when you stand in the mirror, forget how you look, forget how your makeup, forget how your teeth, did you bleach your teeth, forget is your eyebrow mascara on just right, forget how your earring looks, forget where your hairline's going, forget if this outfit makes you look fat or this outfit makes you look thin. Forget about all that. When you look into the mirror, look directly, lean forward, look directly into your eyes. What does that tell you about who you are, where you are, what you are, and all the different things you have going on in your life? Mirror, mirror, and you look into your own eyes. What does that have to say about the way you're handling everything that fate is throwing at you? And it's just a powerful exercise, because it seems to me that when you look through the mirror and you see into your own eyes, once you practice, you get to peel away a lot of the fluff. Remember, we talked about the avalanche. We talked about an archaeological dig. We talked about this, right, being ancient history, your ancient history, back, until right at the point where you were a collapse of the wave function, right back to that point. And I believe, and a lot of people believe this, that when you look into your own eyes, you lean into that mirror and you look into your own eyes, you can't con your reflection. You just can't. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Who's your best ally, right? Who is it that you can count on to tap into that joy that's yours? I saw a post today saying, or early this morning, I saw a post that said, maybe it was yesterday I saw it, but I saw a post that said, oh, how would you like to be a joy magnet? Joy magnet? Who writes this drool? Why? It's like, you hear the old adage, taking sand to the beach. Would you need a joy magnet, you chucklehead? We are that joy. right? Just like the beach going, hey, we could use some more sand here. Bringing sand to the beach. Oh, what is it? Eskimos, bringing ice cubes to Eskimos. Yeah, we got a little bit of a glacier here. We could cool some stuff. We got a mixed drink. We could cool it off with some of this glacier ice, right? We don't need to be a joy magnet. You are that joy. Now, it gets suppressed. It gets depressed. All the different baggage, everything closing in on you. But you are that joy. That's what you were put here to do, was to exercise your unique brand of joy. Joy magnet. Where do they get these people that write this stuff? All right. I've said enough. I want to get myself in trouble. Let's go. We'll jump to our audio vitamin for today. Welcome to your audio vitamin, or as we like to call it around here, sound bites that you can wash down with your first cup of coffee. Well, and don't forget, if I haven't mentioned already, head on over to mortalup.com. Oh, and also if you could hook me up and help us out here at Brian Brawdy & Associates, if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel, we'd super appreciate it. But what happens when you do, and you can go over to mortalup.com and sign up for the audio vitamin, what happens when you do is that every morning, get up, get your cup of coffee, get your drink, whatever it's going to be, before you head in the shower. Hit it, usually under a minute long, but it's audio. No reading, right? You don't have to worry about, can I get my eyes to focus? Where are my glasses? None of that, right? Just audio. It's an audio vitamin. It's something that will rile you up to face the day ahead. So our audio vitamin, and it's absolutely free, by the way. If I haven't mentioned that, head to mortalup.com. We'll go ahead and hook you up. Now, today's audio vitamin. Your mirror's verdict is the only one that counts. And as I said a couple of minutes ago, your reflection can't be conned. Right? When it comes to mirror, mirror on the wall, it's not taking any of your BS. That's the beauty of staring into the mirror here, think of it this way. When you stare into the mirror stares back at you, and what the heck is it saying? Is it saying that it's proud of how you're handling all the stuff that's going on? And you have to admit, when we talk about in the backlash, there's a lot of mashugana going on in the world today. Politically, philosophically, physically, for goodness sakes, there are all kinds of epidemics going on. And how do you bring the backlash? What's your unique brand of backlash? We do on Sunday mornings, all natural being, right? Pulling your sword from the stone. What's your unique brand? How are you going to deal? And people, heretofore, can I just give you a couple asides? Maybe you can help me with this, because it's getting harder for me to deal with. With everything going on in the world today, and a pandemic, epidemic, this and that, there is a silver lining, and I believe that silver lining is personal responsibility, where you're going to have to decide. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Go to the store, don't go to the store. Buy into the hysteria, don't buy into the hysteria. Doing what you can to make absolutely certain that you're doing it your way, because in the end, that's all you'll be able to do is look back on this moment in all of time and say, I handled it the way the mirror told me to, right? You look into your own eyes, and your own eyes stare back at you. Remember we said, mirror can't be conned. And it's the only verdict that ultimately counts. Let everyone have their opinion. Let everyone think, you're this, you're that, you do this, you do that. It's the mirror that counts. Your reflection's verdict. It can't be conned, and thankfully, it's the only one that counts. And here's another thing you can help me with. Everyone says, we're never going to go back. And I believe it. You go to the grocery store, you go to the pharmacy, you go out anywhere, and there's just this air of defeat. There's just this sense of surrender everywhere you look. But what are you and I going to do to rise above that? And I can tell you as a parent, one of the things I talked to Wayne about it, I talked to Ashley about it, in terms of business, I talked to Ashley in terms of my family. What do we do in an attempt to shield the kids? Because you want to talk about an epidemic. What's the psychiatry bills going to be like in 15 or 20 years when we have to send every child in the country to a therapist because they believe just heading outside and taking an inhale could kill them? So it's our responsibility. When we talk all the time about being a cognitive bodyguard, it's our responsibility to be able to defend their borders, defend their walls, so that they're not just petrified of life. I think for me, I'm old school, right? What are you going to do? I've learned my ways. I know what I'm going to do, what I'm going to bring. But for the little ones, what about for them? Do we want them growing up, for anyone 21 and under, do we want them growing up believing that the world is a hostile place? No. And now you got to watch where you go. There's police tape everywhere and masks everywhere and just all kinds of craziness. But what are we doing to protect the long-term mental health of ourselves and our family and friends? Now, doctors, scientists, all the people on Facebook playing like they're a doctor and a scientist, all these different people, they'll tell you one of the quickest ways is to build your backlash, is to build that firewall, to build that moat so that you can protect what enters and what doesn't, right? We all have the Ring doorbells and deadbolts and all these other things. But yet we don't have one for our mind. We'll make sure the alarm's on. We'll make sure that the windows are locked, the curtains are drawn and everything else. But yet we'll let all kinds of crap into our minds. So how about a cognitive deadbolt? Right? How about an alarm for your attitude that says, no, this is where I draw my line in the sand. I'm not gonna let the craziness in. And I would say if it's this point in the show that you're offended by the word craziness, Godspeed, right? But I, for one, I don't want to live in a life, and I most certainly, and this is what's been bouncing around my head lately, when I look into the mirror, I don't want to leave a life for my kids worse than the life I had. But if everything's on lockdown, everything's shut down, everything's police tape, you can get a ticket for riding a jet ski down the middle of the river, what has happened to us? More importantly, what's going to happen to their sense of self if they believe that the world is a hostile place? What's happening to you right now believing that the world is a hostile place? That's why you got to ask yourself, mirror, mirror, on the wall, what are you going to do to be that island in the storm? To be the eye of the hurricane where nothing touches it? I think we mentioned yesterday morning, paraphrasing Sylvia Plath's quote. I know it was in the audio vitamin for yesterday, but paraphrasing Sylvia Plath's quote, like in the tornado, all the winds are whipping around on the outside, but at your core, everything's perfectly calm. Well, what are you doing to make sure that you're passing that on to your children? And look, thank you for joining me. Let me just say, here's what I'm thinking about all the time. What am I doing as allegedly the adult in the room to deal with the elephant in the room, right? And the adult in the room going, all right, what are we going to do now? We're convincing our kids that the world, now, you and I both know the world is a hostile place. I love getting these emails, and you see, in very troubling times, the whole world is senselessly violent. And you go, that's not true. Yes, it is true. We've created a bubble for ourselves to live in, but if everything was kumbaya, birds wouldn't eat worms. Raptors wouldn't swoop down and grab mice. Birds wouldn't grab fish. Predators wouldn't be able to go after prey, right? So the world in and of itself is a violent place. All you can do is figure out how you'll answer that violence. What you're going to do to rise to the top and go, this is where I draw my line. So that when you look in the mirror, you don't feel as if you're conning yourself. You don't feel as if you're just living, you're living fake news. You're busy puffing your chest only because you feel hollow on the inside. And the good news is, it's all made up in our minds. There's no reason for us to feel hollow on the inside. So if we were going to do an impromptu Low Life Making Headlines for today, Low Life's Making Headlines for today, well, what do you say? Let's just do it. I like the way that sounds. Low Life's Making Headlines, or as we like to call it around here, brains that make your blood boil. Here's your brittle brain atop a balsa wood spine for today. All right, so if we're talking low life making headlines, let's just do a group one. Let's just say anyone that causes you to bet against yourself. All of the toxic people or toxic thoughts, if you don't want to label, you don't want to send a round down range and target an individual, let's just call them toxic thoughts that they're busy passing out like a drug dealer, right? They're busy passing out all these toxic thoughts. It's up to you if you let that thought in, right? You're not perforated. You let yourself be. These opinions don't get in through osmosis unless you let them. And when you work on building that citadel, when you work on building the backlash, here's my theory. The backlash is nothing more than a boundary that inflates itself from the inside so that nothing on the outside gets to touch you. That's all we mean by backlash. That's what we mean when we started Counterpunch Media. It's the counterpunch. Not that we're saying, hey, we got to get all violent here. There's going to be a civil war. You know, what are you going to do? And look, when I use the metaphors and I use the words and the terminology of being former military, former law enforcement, it's just the words that I use. I hope there's never a reason to have to go to guns. But that doesn't mean I believe any less in the backlash. The backlash is what you do on the inside to protect yourself, as little Billy Shakespeare said, protect yourself from all the slings and arrows of life. The backlash is your cognitive bodyguard. Your backlash is like your philosophical Kevlar that allows you to wade out into the Meshuggah and go, yeah, none of this touches me. You're welcome to your opinion. Damn glad to see it. Now, the aside becomes when you and I are working, and then all of a sudden, we're responsible for watching out for other people that maybe have little tiny, teeny tiny little examples of backlash. They haven't built their backlash yet. And then we need to shoulder the responsibility to be able to say, all right, you put yourself behind me. I'll make sure that we get through this, right? So that their backlash can grow. It can be nurtured and that naturally come to fruition instead of being siphoned off, instead of being drained off, instead of being punctured one arrow at a time. And I think that's our responsibility. And if you don't have kids and you don't want to do it for your kids, then do it for your other family members, for your friends, for their kids, for their nieces and nephews, for your grandkids. What can you do to protect them so that they know that the world isn't as hostile as it seems, although it is terribly? Right? We do everything we can for an insurance policy to say we're not going to let it get to us, and that's great. But what are we doing to convince the little ones around us that everything will be okay and that this is the greatest time, as I believe, in the history of the world to be alive? All right, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. As I said earlier, if you have the opportunity, please head over to mortalup.com. You can sign up for your audio vitamin. In addition to that, you can subscribe over on the YouTube page. All of our programming now is over on Counterpunch Media, and we are very glad to be there. All right, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you so very much for joining us. Remember to look up, to stand up, to bring your own bold, bring your own backlash, because it's absolutely in you. Bring your own backlash and Mortal Up, because it's never, ever, ever been a better time to be who you truly are than right now. Have an absolutely fantastic day. Please reach out to us at mortalup.com. If there's anything we can do for you, let us know, and we'll look forward to seeing you back here bright and early tomorrow morning. Have an absolutely fantastic day.